Welcome back to the channel, and so we're carrying on with different methods of working in the astral plane, the astral realm, things that can be associated with that. So I want to have a look at shamanic journeying. Now, when we are looking into anything shamanic, really, the word shamanic has become quite widespread. So it is describing practices from a lot of different cultures now. So just bear that in mind. And when it comes to shamanic practices and shamanic journeying, we can find methods in all different cultures, traditions, paths, and they may have slightly different ways of doing it. Unfortunately, a lot of us have to find this information in books which have been written by individuals who have culturally appropriated practices and information. So what I would suggest is, when you are reading such information, just take note of the cultures where these practices have been taken from and do some proper research into them. Just bring some honor back to those cultures, because it's unavoidable. People are going to read Michael Harner's Core Shamanism, and they're just going to take it in practice, not even considering what the cultures or where the actual practices came from, and the origins of them, which is appropriating. So at least try and bring some honor back to those cultures by doing some proper research into their history and their origins, and such things, and their lives. Find out how they lived, how they honored nature, and how they honored the animals in the forest, and all those things. Okay, so having said that, my personal shamanic journeying method is very much core shamanism, because that's where I started with it and learnt it years ago, and just sort of carried on and developed since then. So I was in that position where I kind of just picked up the book, read it, thought, wow, this is incredible. 20, 30 years ago, young, didn't even think of cultural appropriation, but become more aware of it over the years. So this is why I'm saying just become aware of it, and where things are being appropriated from. Just give these people honor and respect. Okay, so shamanic journeying itself. The most widely used method generally, and I find a lot of these authors that have been appropriating things and bringing these methods about to the Western society, it's kind of bled through into the New Age methodologies. And New Age has its place, don't get me wrong, it's definitely got its place, but it just seems to become watered down more and more and more, and which is kind of sad, really. But anyway, let's get back to shamanic journeying itself. Okay, so shamanic journeying, what you want to do is you want to sit down in a meditative state. You can lie down. A lot of methods will tell you to lie down. I find I usually fall asleep if I lie down. If I don't fall asleep, I find it kind of difficult to orient myself. If I'm sitting, my torso at least, and my head is in an upright position. So when I'm moving through a landscape, I am continuing that orientation. But if I'm lying down, I find it very difficult to bring myself into an orientation where I am moving through. Now, this is bringing very much a conscious realization into the practice itself, and I do realize that. But, especially when you're beginning these practices, to just simply move from spot to spot and just flow in that direction without any orientation, it's not normal. We are so used to You know, when you're lying down, you're lying down. If you want to move from point A to point B, you've got to stand up and you've got to walk, okay? So we're used to that action. So especially when you're beginning, you want to kind of take the steps. As you carry on, you learn that, you know, you don't have to step with left, right, left, right, left, right. You can just move in that direction and you go in that direction. But I do find that if I'm lying down, I can't get the proper orientation to actually move and flow in the direction I want to go in. So I prefer to sit in just a meditative pose, whatever position it is. You can sit in an armchair if you want to. But you need to get into a trance state. And the best way to do this, there's lots of methods. I mean, we spoke about this with sigil magic. There's lots of methods to get into a trance state. But one of the best methods I find is to use shamanic drumming. And you will find this from Hana. You'll find this from Sandra Ingerman. They have recorded specific shamanic drumming with specific times, like 15 minutes, 30 minutes. They have single drumming, they have double drumming. But the reason I find this to be the most useful method is that you have a specific time frame to do your work, and then there's a callback at the end. So it goes from a particular beat, it then pauses, and then it's got like 4 fast beats, and then it has a really fast beat, which then brings you back. So it has this callback to it, which is very useful, because if you're not using anything which has this method of a callback, you could be there for ages and not actually realize it. The thing is, when you're working in the astral realm in any method, you'll find that the time between the organic realm and the astral realm is different. So you might feel like you have been traveling around the lower world or wherever you're going for like hours, and only 5 minutes passed in the organic realm, and the opposite can actually happen. So it could feel like, you put on your drumming, you start your journey, and then 5 minutes have passed, and all of a sudden the callback comes, and 15 or 30 minutes has passed in the organic realm. So don't think the time's going to be the same, but it does give you that parameter, and we like parameters. It allows us to fit into a certain mold, which we need to break out of eventually. But I think as a beginner, when you start in the practices, it's good to actually have those set boundaries. You know what you're going to be doing, you know how long you're going to be doing it for, and you can then allow your mind to relax. We do, most of us have very busy schedules, so to sit down and take 15 minutes in the astral realm and then wake up and realize that 3 hours have gone past and you had an appointment you had to go to, all these things. If you do that, then you're going to be in this journey and constantly thinking, okay, I've got to make this appointment. But if you set a time frame and you use this drumming method with the callback, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, whichever one you're using, you're going to get a callback, and you can then make that appointment. So you're not going to be thinking about it. It's not on your mind constantly. So time's not real, but we still have to function in the organic realm. So, these things do have their purposes and they do help. All right, so you're going to get into trance state, and using drumming, that really helps. What I usually do is I'll sit down in meditation. I'll just do some breathing for a while and just let my body relax. Bring myself out of that active state into a passive state. Then I'll start the drumming and I'll start the journey process. Now there are many methods, many ways you can get there. The usual one that's recommended is to visualize a hole, and it's usually a place you've been to. So it could be the hole in the base of a tree, it could be a well, It could be a sinkhole. It could be something in the ground, just this hole that goes down. So you visualize this hole down into the earth, all right? And then you stand in front of it, and then you just fly down the hole. And you go down and down and down. You go through this tunnel, and you may find that you get to points where you have to kind of squeeze between rocks or between water molecules or something. It depends on your personal journey. So you kind of squeeze through them. There's no physical boundaries, there's no physical limitations. If you're faced with a hairline crack between two rocks and you need to get through, you just squeeze through. You don't have a physical body, so that's fine. So you just squeeze through, you carry on, you go down the tunnel, it goes around and around and around, and then eventually you get to a landscape. So you kind of come out and you're in this landscape, and that's the lower world. Or, we usually start with the lower world, and then we can start working with the middle world, and then work with the upper world. The lower world is where you're going to find spirit animals, your power animal, spirit guides, certain spirit guides, and things like that. So lower world's usually the best place to start with. Now, there are other methods to doing this. There are many, many, many other methods. My own personal method is to go into my astral temple. So I will go down into my astral temple, it's into my inner temple, my inner self, and then I've got like an ante-room, and there's doors leading off to specific places and specific rooms and where I can do specific things. The one door I have is where I go and do journey work into the tree. And when I say the tree, because we have the upper world, middle world, and lower world. Now, if I'm doing work for clients or doing soul retrievals or bringing back power animals or things like that, I have one specific world that I go to, which is based very much on the Mayan and Azteca worldview. I've got a Howl's Moving Castle door. I've installed that not too long ago. And so I've got a dial, so I turn the dial to that specific worldview that I want to enter into. So one will go to Yggdrasil, which is the Norse pantheon or Norse mythologies, or I'll go to this world tree where I can do client work and such things. And that specific one, it's got 4 rows that lead into the center, and there's a well in the center that leads down, and there's a reflection of that well that leads up. So I can move in the middle world, or I can go down the well into the lower world, or I can go up the well into the upper world. So you can, all of these visualizations and imagery and things like that you can set up yourself. But this specific map has a specific purpose for me. So, I'm moving down one of the rows to go in a particular direction to do specific soul work for clients and things like that. There's actually so much we could say about moving around the world and shamanic journeying. So I'm trying to give you a kind of outline and a kind of a starting point. If you do want to read about core shamanism, Michael Harner, Sandra Ingerman, Albert Loldo is quite good. I find everything's getting a bit too new agey at the moment. They've just moved in that direction. But if you're going to read someone like Albert Valloldo, then really delve into the Inca tradition. If you're going to read other people, find that they do mention the cultures and the tribes that they learned from. Ingerman learned from from Hana mostly, but there were other aspects. So they do mention them, so then you can go research those actual cultures and really delve into the people and their history and things like that. If you want a more Nordic approach, although again there's very much a Hana emphasis, is have a look at Diana Paxson's books. There's one called Transportation, as far as I remember. It's trance, Trance, and then portation, which is a very good book. It depends on what culture you want to actually delve into and look at. You could look in traditional witchcraft and hedge riding. You can look into the Witcher Sabbat and going to the Sabbat with riding on or as your familiar or your fetch beast. So there's all these aspects. Really, it is having one foot in both worlds and traversing between both worlds. And in a shamanic sense, it's usually to speak to spirits in order to help people in the community, or do healing work or things like that. So it's very much community based if it's in a shamanic sense. As I said, you're going to be going there, you're going to speaking to specific guides, and getting specific answers for health issues, or relationship issues or things like that, or bringing back power animal for the client, or doing a soul retrieval, doing a cleansing, whatever it is. It's usually to help the community in some way and heal the community, all of those types of things. That really is why you would do it from a shamanic perspective. All right, I could ramble on and on and on, but I'm not going to. I think that gives you a general good idea. Hopefully, if you've got any questions, remember to leave them in the comments, and I'll get to answer them. And if we need to elaborate on something more, then I can do a follow-up video. All right, so that's it for this week. Have a good one, and hope to see you tomorrow, Friday. We are doing advice for the new witch. So if you can join us at 5 p.m. GMT on the live chat, just look out for the live stream. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when the live stream starts. We start it 5 minutes before, so it gives you time to make a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or hot chocolate. I recommend hot chocolate. Okay, so I'll see you then or on Saturday. Have a good one. Cheers for now. Bye-bye.